For those of us who are not experts in this field, how is AI used in war? What are we talking about here?
There's various kinds of use cases. Thanks for having me. The most common one, perhaps, that people are familiar with are things like surveillance. So a lot of people have heard about facial recognition technology that can be used in non-military contexts, but of course can also be used in military contexts. So suppose the military has some people of interest that they want to track, they want to follow, perhaps they want to arrest, detain, or even kill. AI can be used to surveil a general population, and then you can identify your target potentially, as long as you have facial recognition software running. And then you can do, the military can do what it intends to do with that person, of course, on the condition that the AI, the facial recognition software, gets it right. So that's one kind of use case. There's other kinds of things. The military, of course, is collecting a tremendous amount of data, information about all sorts of things, both data from cameras, data from the internet, communications between say, enemy states. And there's a lot of data to sift through, and it's not always possible for a human to do it. So having an AI that can, if you like, define or find the signal and the noise can be very useful for, say, identifying potential threats. And then one last one that's not so much that's less on the grim side. It can be used in various contexts to, let's say, on the battlefield, trying to identify what kind of people need medical help, the probability that they will benefit from medical help, and then making certain kinds of strategic decisions about what extractions are most important to make.
Call me cynical, but I mean, often governments and armies around the world often fail to adhere to the ethical rules of war. Why would this be any different?
I might call you cynical, but then I'd join you in that boat. I don't think we're going to see any sort of major, new commitments here. And the commitments that they've signed up for, as it were, are relatively weak. They're more procedural than they are substantive. So if a state has signed a statement saying we are going to engage in the responsible use of AI, to the extent that they've committed to anything, and really they haven't, if you like, legally committed to anything, they've committed to certain kinds of checks as they, say, design, develop, deploy, use AI in various ways. But as for the standards by which they make those judgments about how to design it, how to deploy it, how to use it, those standards are completely absent from anything. So signing up for the responsible use of AI, at best, can be read as we won't be utterly reckless in our use of AI, but that's about all we have at the moment.
Presumably it is significant to have all these people round the table in one place, admitting at least there should be some kind of framework.
Yeah, I mean, look, whether it's significant or not is for time to tell. We'll see if it's the first step in a longer journey to actually providing sufficient ethical guardrails around the development and use of AI, or if it's just sort of, if you like, it's PR and nothing more than that. I don't think we know until we know whether this meeting leads to the next one where we get more substantive standards, we get enforcement mechanisms, we get things that are legally binding. So I just don't think that we know yet. Yes, I'm with you again, cynical, but we'll see.
But it is worth making the point here, this is not legally binding in any way, shape or form yet.
Correct, right. So right now it's just a sort of, pinky swear, right? It's a loose promise that you won't be absolutely reckless with your AI. What does that mean right now? It means that you'll engage in some kinds of checks through what they say throughout the product lifecycle. So when you're thinking about what AI to design or procure, when you're actually designing or building it, and when you're testing it, when you're deploying or using it, we'll check to see if there are ways where our AI can go completely off the rails. That's really what they're focused on, is making sure that AI doesn't go completely off the rails. That said, some pretty morally heinous goals can be on the rails in a military context. So we don't have sort of, if you like, new standards for ethical conduct in the military.